Are you looking at? I was like, yeah, I need a gig, man. 2 years of not working. 2 years of
colleges pay well.
Yeah. Well, if you teach certain subjects and you got in at the right time.
Right. Well, yeah.
Like
I'm teaching female anatomy.
Well, okay. That's kind of out of vogue these days. Yep. All right, cool.
All right.
All right, I'm just going to give myself 10 seconds. Here we go. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ. Welcome to Beats, Vines, and Life Before the Poor, a.k.a. 20 Questions with MJ. My guest today is best known for his 25-year career with late-night talk show host Conan O'Brien. Billy, is it Bollotino or Bollotino?
Bollotino.
Bollotino. Billy began his career in the mailroom at WABC TV in New York. And he spent the 90s working at various television outlets such as Court TV, ABC, FX, USA. And is that supposed to be CNN? Or is it
MNN?
Okay. What's MNN? I'm just kidding.
Medical News Network.
Okay.
It was it was an ill-fated network just for doctors.
Good. We'll get to that. Okay. And in October of 1997, Billy was hired for NBC's Late Night with Conan O'Brien, where, like I said, it's a 25-year career. And now he is a professor at Cal State Northridge. He is also the creator and producer of the web series The Chow Line. Welcome, Billy.
Welcome. Thank you.
Oh, Brother Billy, I'm so glad you're here. But what I do to warm us up a bit, I'm going to ask you some personal questions. Like I said, they're really not that personal, but I follow them by James Lipton's 10 famous questions from inside the actor's studio.
Okay, fire away.
All right. So,
as Pat Benatar would say.
What is your favorite book?
My favorite book, The Godfather.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Like, you're probably the age where you read the book. My father had read the book, you know, before, Mario Puzo. Yeah. Favorite TV series?
The Odd Couple.
Oh, so good.
Yep.
Classic.
The best.
Yeah.
The movie was good, but when Tony Randall and Jack Klugman got together on that TV show, it's just magic.
It was amazing. I'm fortunate enough to be old enough to have lived through, like a lot of technology, a lot of good TV, the best music,
yeah,
and yeah, the Odd Couple, because most people come on, it's like The Wire, The Sopranos. Sopranos is a great show, but but that's a good one.
A close second is The Honeymooners.
That was a great show too. That I remember being like a teenager. Or like in college, and it's late night, you're high, you're drunk, and that's what was on, like with Honeymooners and shit like that.
I worked on it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm that old.
This is a good question. It's gonna be a tough one. Favorite musical artist or group?
Kiss.
Ah, right on. Favorite food? Last meal? What's Billy having?
Pasta.
That tracks. It's pasta or pizza. Favorite athlete?
Oh, favorite athlete. Old time?
Yeah.
Joe Namath.
Nice. Why I asked you these questions?
A close second is Keith Hernandez.
I was going to say, these questions are so good because they really inform me about, I just pick up things from them. So now, Broadway Joe, we get to talk about the 70s in New York. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Favorite way to spend a day off?
Wow, that's a good one. Hanging out by my pool.
Nice.
And watching Seinfeld reruns.
Another just classic show. Yeah, and I watched some. I'm gonna go back and just binge all of Curb Your Enthusiasm because it was a great show. I never was a lot of times those shows I wasn't home on Sunday nights and shit. But now that it ended, I want to make sure I. JB Smooth was so great.
Oh my God! He came. Well, we're going to talk about late night later on. But he came on, and one of his first gigs was impersonating Conan on the late night show. They put a red wig on.
Oh my God! I can't wait to hear this story. Yeah. Do you have a bucket list destination? And if you do, why?
I don't.
Okay. All right. What advice would you give to your 14-year-old self?
Save more money.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the truth. Consequently, now that you are mature and older, Allegedly, I'm thinking for myself there.
Do you have older? I don't know if I'm more mature.
Do you have a philosophy by which you live your life?
No, just be nice to people.
That's a good one.
I try to help whoever I can in any way I can.
I love that. Who would you most like to have a drink with?
You.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very nice. Okay, now we're going to turn our attention to the questions that James Lipton made famous.
Okay.
On Inside the Actors Studio.
We had Lipton on so many times.
Billy, what is your favorite word?
I can't say that.
Well, I'm going to ask you what your curse word is anyway, so you know these 10 questions. What's your favorite word?
My favorite word? Love.
Okay, awesome. What is your least favorite word?
Hate.
What turns you on?
I don't know, ladies.
Good answer. Consequently, what turns you off?
People who hate on you. People who snipe at you for no good reason.
Got it. What sound or noise do you love?
What sound or noise do I love? I kind of love hearing birds in the morning, even though they get annoying and they poop on my deck. But I like hearing them chirping in the morning. Not the crows, but
it's a good sound.
Nice birds.
Because you're living out west now.
Yeah.
And if you remember on the East Coast, it's decidedly, it's spring when you start to hear the birds chirping. So it's a nice, so this month has been really nice. Like last beginning of March, just hearing the birds chirp. What sound or noise do you dislike?
Tone from Bars and Tone when you record a video program.
What is your favorite curse word? And you could just use the letter if you want.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
I have a friend who's a comedian, half British, half American. He just recorded his own special because that's the world we live in, and we're going to get in this podcast.
Right. Okay.
And so he makes his money, his day job. He's a direct response copywriter. He makes a lot of money for writing shit that sells shit on the internet.
Which camera is mine?
We're just one. We're straight ahead.
Oh, okay.
We're one angle. I couldn't afford 2 cameras. It's extra.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir there.
It's extra.
Try doing the chow line without any cameraman.
Yeah. And it's because he's British. Like he had this whole thing in his special about C-U-N-T, right? Like and like how like he's like it's the Americans. Like it's like the emphasis are on the wrong word, and he did this. It was very funny about being a proper, and how it's used in Britain.
Right.
What profession? Well, you've had I guess you're doing it, but I don't know. So now you're a professor. So what profession other than your own would you like to attempt? Anything you'd want to do after the life you've had?
Well, geez. You know what? I was thinking this morning, and I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she had said to me that maybe you should start looking in a different direction. And a good friend of mine just started acting, and he's our age.
Yep.
And I might try my hand at that.
Yeah, why not? I mean, the reality is, I think about, but when I was on Deeper Dives, that was kind of thing like, Morgan Freeman didn't get his big break. It's 46, 47 when he did Lecture Company Theater, but it was the Pimp movie with Christopher Reeve. What was it called?
Superman?
No. Super Pimp. Oh, man. Street Smart. That's what it's called.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, you got to see it. Oh, my God. Rent it. See it. Probably on Netflix. It was Morgan Freeman played it was a good one.
Don't give me away at the ending.
I will not.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
What profession would you not like to do?
Janitor.
That's a good not want to do, and God bless all the custodians and janitors out there.
Yes,
who do it.
I mean,
but
yes.
It's not what I wouldn't want to do it either. Mine is like garbage man,
Right.
And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Do you want fries with that?
Well, that was fun. And if you want more Billy, and I know you do, make sure you tune in to our episode of Beats, Vines, and Life. Peace.
Peace.
Hey, everybody, what's up? It's your boy, MJ. Welcome to Beats, Vines, and Life. My guest today is best known for his 25-year career with late-night talk show host Conan O'Brien, Billy Bollotino. Billy began his career in the mailroom at WABC TV in New York, and then he spent the 90s working at various television outlets such as Court TV, ABC, FX, USA, and MNN, and that's correct, M, like an MJ, and N, and we'll unpack that for you. And in October of 1997, Billy was hired for NBC's Late Night with Conan O'Brien, and these days he's a professor at Cal State Northridge, and he's the creator and producer of the web series The Chow Line. Welcome, Billy.
Thank you, MJs. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, first of all, you know, you guys, I made this pivot, Beats, Vines, and Life, and but how I met Billy was through the Black Wine Guy experience, and his colleague Sharon Daster, if you remember Sharon, first ever woman to be the program director at a major radio station. She ran Z100 back in the day.
Amazing lady.
And through her I met Billy and also his partner Marshall, who was on, if you remember. Mitchell. Mitchell. Sorry. Mitchell.
It's okay.
And
now I'm going to call him Marshall.
I know, exactly.
I'm having brunch with him on Sunday.
I'm thinking of his Instagram handle in the MS. I don't know why I just went to Marshall.
It's fine.
Mitchell Stewart.
Maybe think of the amps because he plays music.
Exactly. If you remember the World Funk Orchestra episode.
Yes.
And so now the triumvirate is complete. You know, beforehand, Billy was giving me a lot of shit because he's like, oh, well, I was the last one to come on. But you do live out in L.A., out in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, out actually in the valley of Simi.
Thank you for adding that last part. I lived in the valley and I did not like it there. You do not want to live in the valley.
Oh man, it's not like those '80s movies about Valley Girl.
Yeah.
No. But so I asked Billy, like what he likes to drink, and he said either Chardonnay or Diet Pepsi. So
it was in the other order, right?
Yeah.
And this does not taste like Diet Pepsi.
No, it's not.
It's pretty damn good, though.
Yeah. So shout out to my man Channing Fry, Chosen Family Wines. I think Chan, this is one of the first bottles you sent me. This is a 2020. I haven't received a shipment in a minute, so just throwing it out there. But this is from the Willamette Valley
in Oregon.
Oregon. This is the Partners in Wine series. This is the Langelo Estate in the Dundee Hills, and it is tasting pretty tasty right now, if I say so myself. So, man, I like to start at the beginning. Where are you from,
Could
Billy?
have skipped the glasses and just put 2 straws in.
I know, man. I know, right?
We could have really gettered it up here.
It's classy.
So go ahead. What's your question?
Where are you from, man?
The Bronx, New York.
The Bronx. Okay. So I love this. So you are a native New Yorker.
Yes.
All right. And were your mom? Are you? I'm gonna assume because most of us in somewhere are descendants of immigrants. So who came over and how did your family end up in the Bronx?
Oh God, I think going back a little ways, I think my mom's dad came over. He was born in Italy.
Okay.
He fought for the Italian army in World War I, and then they came over to America, and I guess they settled in the Bronx.
Okay. And so, what was it like? The Bronx has gone through a lot of iterations. When I look at you,
think?
Yeah, right. So, I think of the movie A Bronx Tale because, for me, a kid who was like hitting his teens in like 82, well, like 12, 13, when hip hop was coming out. So everybody just knew the South Bronx was shitty, but it was a really different neighborhood back in the day, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. What was it like growing up like in like 50 or 60s Bronx, New York Yankees?
All right, I didn't grow up in the 50s.
Okay, that's why I kind of try to like 60s.
Yeah. No, it was more the 70s.
Okay,
but it was fun. I mean, I did not live in the South Bronx.
Yeah.
Okay, I lived in a section called Pelham Bay.
Okay.
Which is in the, kind of the northeast corner of the Bronx. It's right near Orchard Beach, and it's right near the Long Island Sound. And if you travel like 2 miles, you're in Westchester County. So it was a really nice, fun place to grow up. I lived in an apartment building, and we had a lot of people that were my age. We all went to the same school. We all knew each other. There was, it was primarily, I'm not going to BS you, it was primarily Italian, Irish neighborhood.
I mean, that's kind of, people don't get, like, there aren't a lot of diverse neighborhoods in America anywhere, to be honest with you. Like, and particularly coming out of immigration, people knew they had a relative who came over, settled, and then everybody else came over. It's the same thing
You
everywhere.
had your Polish neighborhoods, and you had your, African American neighborhoods, and you had Puerto Rican neighborhoods. It was just, the kind of thing, and we were, just a regular neighborhood.
That's that whole area. There have been some movies about that. There's one with Andy Garcia, like the Orchard Beach. City Island. What is that? Is that a
City Island? Yeah.
Yeah, that's out that way too.
In Bronx Tale, Robert De Niro drove the bus.
Yeah.
And he parked the bus in City Island.
Yeah.
And City Island is a great place. I spent so much time there. Back when I was a little kid, my dad used to deliver milk.
Okay.
And his route was all over City Island. And when I was, as young as 8 years old, I'd go on the truck with him and help him deliver milk. And it was, my first work experience, really. And I think in doing that, I learned a lot of the values that I applied in my television career and in my teaching career and doing a lot of things. I studied his work ethic, and I just learned from that. And I think spending, the middle of the night on a milk truck, deliver milk, really did me a lot of good.
Yeah.
Didn't help my knees, but that's okay.
Speaking of
jumping off a truck with and this is when they had bottles,
glass
bottles, yes, and they had the little thing,
like the tray, the little metal tray. You go to like people pay big money for those at like antique shops now.
No, I'm talking about the milk box.
Oh yeah,
it was styrofoam inside, and it was metal on the outside.
Okay.
And the styrofoam kept it cool in the summer.
Yep.
And in the winter prevented it from freezing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any siblings growing up? How big was your family?
I have 2 brothers.
And where do you fall on the spectrum of brotherhood?
The best.
Oldest, youngest, middle?
Oldest.
Okay. So they'll totally, I'm sure if your brothers could, they'd totally agree. You're the best big brother ever. You just kick the shit out of them.
They'll never see this.
I know.
They'll never hear this.
And so, like, growing up, did you participate in organized sports, or just like a kid, like we'd play stickball or baseball? Or
we
throw
did
football?
that, yeah. We were big on stickball, punchball, all kinds of stuff. But I did play football when I was, probably 12 years old. Again, did a number on my knees. And then later in life, I played softball.
Okay.
Which was as unorganized as you can get.
Yeah, I mean,
you want to know what the name of my team was?
What was the name of your team?
The Hangovers.
I was gonna say softball. Pretty much, if you is excusing to drink beers after work.
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah. The Hangovers. That totally tracks.
In fact, funny story. My friend Johnny, who was the shortstop on the team, he hated when we had a night game. He loved the 7 a.m. games. He goes, because then we could drink all day.
Yeah.
The 7 o'clock games, oh, man, cuts the night short.
And my winemaker friend said, you can't drink all day unless you start in early in the morning. Got a serious day of drinking to do.
We'd stop for food occasionally.
And
the old White Castle,
Oh, my God. White Castle, wow.
That is one thing I really, you know what? There's 5 things. I was thinking about this on the ride over here. There's 5 things I really miss about New York food. White Castle, egg rolls, I went. You know what my breakfast was this morning?
Tell me.
I went to Gray's Papaya.
I was gonna say, did you get a drink and a couple?
I did not get the drink.
Just a hot dog?
No, I do not like pineapple soda and bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll. That's it. That's it. That's all I need.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Well, I lived out there for 10 years. I'll tell you one thing I miss. I miss In-N-Out Burger because I think dollar for dollar, you can't find a better fast food burger, right? Like, you know, dollar for dollar. I mean, up until a few years ago, that you get that double meal for like $6.
But let me ask you this, MJ. If you call In-N-Out Burger fast food, every time you pass one, there's 35 cars lined up.
Yeah, no,
so
it's not.
It takes an hour and a half to
Right.
get
Well,
it.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
I can go to the store, get a thing of Wagyu beef, cook it in my house, and it's just as good.
I make a pretty mean smash burger. If you
So do
follow my
I.
feed, man, I
Yeah.
love. Matter of fact, tomorrow night is burger night, but just to
What
be able
time
to.
should I be there?
Oh, unfortunately, you got the show.
It's in the afternoon.
But yeah, no, I miss that and the Mexican food, just because it's California's Mexico. It's just like everybody's got like
Yep.
their grandmother's tortilla recipe that's just so good.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean, but when
And
I came home,
sushi's
oh, the
good.
sushi. But I mean, yeah, it comes right out the ocean.
Right.
You know, like, yeah. When I lived in Santa Barbara, man, they'd go down these spots right on the harbor, man, and they'd bring the ahi right off the boat.
Beautiful
So
city,
freaking good.
Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
So nice.
You said, what's that? Brophy Brothers. Oh, you got to go to Brophy Brothers. It's right on the water, man. And you're on the water, and the sun's setting, and the mountains are over there, and just just the sushi's good if you want. Like Brophy Brothers out of Boston, but the fried seafood's like it's the only place you get some. I got some good fried. Get my fried shrimp. Have an ice cold Sam Adams off the draft. So good.
Well, that's one thing I love about City Island, the fried, the clam strips. You can't beat them.
Yeah.
You just cannot beat them coming out of City Island.
And you also got to be hurting for bagels out there. I mean,
Yeah,
are you a bagel guy?
I'm not a bagel guy.
yeah.
I like them once in a while, but it's not something that I'm.
Well,
like,
yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm like, there's people who eat bagels every weekend. I'll have a bagel
Yeah.
every couple months, and it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that's those East-West conversations people get into,
Oh,
about
yeah.
like the pizza and the bagels and.
Well, you know what a big conversation is, especially with East Coast and West Coast guys, because when we were at the show, it was almost 50-50 at one point. And the East Coast people were like, oh, Twizzlers, that's the way to go. And the West Coast people were like, no, Red Vines, that's the way. Have you ever had a Red Vine?
I have, but I never could. As someone who's into flavors with the wine part of my life, I never. Now I'm gonna have to do Red Vines versus Twizzlers.
Yeah.
I was Twizzlers though.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
East Coast. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I had Red Vines when I lived in California. Go to movies,
Oh
have some
my
Red
God,
Vines, but
why not just eat a straw? They're terrible.
yeah, they're pretty. They're pretty waxy.
Yes,
Yeah, they didn't put enough sugar in that shit. Man.
I agree.
Um,
Twizzlers, though, they have that nice, and they're better when they're stale.
yeah,
I love like a Twizzler when the package has been open for like 3 months, and it crunches when you bite into it. Love it.
these are the quirks of people who work in the entertainment industry. His rider says, I need 3 packets of Twizzlers that have been open for 7 days.
Yep.
So you grew up in the 70s, which is an incredible time to grow up in New York City. I mean, because
Yes, it was.
you had the whole scene emerging. You had the punk scene. You had the downtown Andy Warhol. So kind of how did you get into like
Son of Sam.
Son of Sam?
I remember that summer so vividly.
Oh my God, because that was
Because his first victim was around the corner from my house.
wow.
And in fact, 3 of his victims were in my immediate neighborhood. He did a couple in Queens and Brooklyn and all that, but it was the craziest summer. We had a blackout that summer.
Yeah, it was a blackout that summer.
And it was crazy. That I don't know if you're a Billy Joel fan, but that song "Close to the Borderline,"
Yeah.
blackouts, heat
Yep.
waves,
Yep.
44 killer. That was that summer.
That's insane.
And I was young. I wasn't even like, I was barely. I don't even know if I was in high school yet.
Yeah. Have you seen Spike Lee's movie, Summer of Sam?
I saw it a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a good movie. It was good. I haven't seen it in a while.
Jennifer Esposito was in that one.
Yeah.
I remember it, but I couldn't quote it.
No, but I mean, but it's just interesting to have that window, and that's what I think for me, what people don't get, what I really love about wine is what the people I've gotten to meet because I happen to drink this fermented grape juice, and the stories, right? Like we for me, I grew up in New Jersey. Of course, we're in New York. All the news, I'm seeing it going on, and I'm younger, but like that was like in your neighborhood. Like that's real people. Like we forget sometimes this shit on the news is like real people's lives.
Yes.
And it shapes us. So, yeah, what was the neighborhood like? You had to be in. Did parents try and give curfews, or like kind of what was like?
It was just there was a certain amount of trepidation. People were always, but he always struck at night. So how many 12-year-olds are roaming the streets at night? You know, but it was a scary time, And I remember when they finally caught him, and J.J. Gonzalez came to. Do you remember him?
Yeah. Yeah.
He came to my block and he was interviewing people. And I remember I had the Daily News, and it was the front page, of course, Son of Sam caught, blah, blah, blah. And I think this might be the first time I asked anybody for an autograph. And I asked J.J. Gonzalez to sign my newspaper.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Shout out to J.J. Gonzalez. And it's still on the air?
I don't think so. I don't know. Actually, let me say I don't know because I know Spencer Christian's still on the air, but he's out in San Francisco.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I worked with him at GMA.
I'm sure you did. Yeah. I can't wait. We're gonna get to this illustrious career.
I wish I directed his Hairspray commercials. Do you remember those?
No, he did Spencer Christian did Hairspray commercials.
It was that fake.
I don't remember. Oh, it was the cover the bald spot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know. I didn't remember that.
Okay.
That's wild.
Next question.
So, did you ever get in a Studio 54 when you were young? Like, did you make it there? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was already kind of
It was
yeah. I wasn't there with Bianca Jagger and Paul Stanley and all those people, so no, I didn't.
Were you one of the people who were trying to get in? Did you like go hang out for a while until you got in, or you just
no?
Or you just age? I mean, because there's a window of age where you're going to get in.
I just waited it out, and then we went. I wasn't impressed.
Well, come on, man. I mean, like, no Bianca, no Liz Taylor,
right? Exactly.
No Michael Jackson,
Debbie Harry, all those guys.
Oh my God, yeah. I had a guy on, David Bowler, who actually is a wine importer, but he was part of the early CBGB's scene. And he knows Debbie. He knew Debbie. He sang out and had a band and they were. I remember he was saying how, at first, it was you were either downtown. You weren't in that midtown. You weren't in that scene. It was scenes, and then, I don't want to say lines blurred, but people. Well, it's always like everybody either back in the day, you wanted to go uptown to Harlem in the 1920s, right? You put it Cotton Club, and then it became yeah, exactly. And then it was Apollo. Then it became Studio 54 was just for everybody. But then also, let's go downtown, right? Because it's edgier, right?
And there was the Peppermint Lounge, and there was the Mud Club, and there was Limelight, and there was a
my God, Peppermint Lounge. I know Peppermint Lounge. We used to call it the Slimelight, even though we used to love going there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're bringing back memories. And so you mentioned
I almost picked up Lorne Michaels at the Limelight.
I believe that. I mean, that was the thing that's what they say about. If you were in the club, you had a chance at anybody. If you were in the club, like it was like you had a shot. Love Lorne Michaels. Love that.
She was such a great lady.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that your dad was hardworking, and you took a lot of lessons from that, being on the truck with him. So I assume that you're the oldest, so you were the first to go to college. Is that correct in your family?
Correct.
Yeah. Where'd you end up going to school?
I went to Fordham University.
Damn, Billy.
What?
Billy, that's a really good school. Billy, that's like a little Ivy school. That's like that's impressive, man.
That's what they say.
Exactly. And you guys, you will see the videos and we'll get into it. But Billy, this is what I love about people. You are who you are, and Billy's worked in entertainment for so long. Like, I mean, he's a rock star. I mean, he's a cool motherfucker. But it's funny, like when you but you're like, yeah, I went to Fordham. What'd you study at Fordham?
Communications.
Nice. I majored in communications.
Was a breakdown.
Not a breakdown.
It did me absolutely no good. The best thing that came out of that was that I got an internship at a TV studio in Yonkers, and I met a fellow student there. We were interns, and we'll get into it later on, but we created our own music show together.
Yeah.
And that was one of the formative moments of my life.
Yeah. And listen, it's one of these things where you're gonna have so many great stories. So yeah, you went to college, and then and when you said your great little bio, which thank you, because I get bios that are like from, and no diss, but from people who've accomplished far less will have the biggest CV. He was like Billy Bollotino was born in the Bronx and did this. So it was called what was it called? It was called Rocker.
It's called Rocker Room.
Yeah, Rocker Room. So this was in college. You got an internship.
No, this was actually we started doing it after college.
Okay.
I started my internship. I met this lady Marie, and we after college we were like, the big thing for me, and this is like the early '80s, and '84 maybe '85. And MTV was the big thing.
Oh, yeah.
And, I kept trying to get a job at MTV. And I must have applied maybe 25 times. Oh, thank you.
There you go.
And never got anything. So then, and we were thinking about, what about all these bands that can't get on MTV? Yeah, everybody loves Billy Idol and Pat Benatar and U2 and all these whatever bands were out there, Culture Club. We wanted to do a show. We wanted to do our own MTV. And we wanted to make it for bands that couldn't get on MTV. And, we would put ads in the local papers, and we put ads in the music, magazines and stuff like that. And, we got a lot of, kind of big, not big bands, but really good bands, that just never got a break.
Yeah.
We did get one band.
Who's this?
You want to hear this?
Of course.
So I was going through some of the submissions, and I got this envelope, and it's got a letter and a cassette tape in it. For those of you who don't know what cassettes are, they were a way of playing music before iPods.
Yes, it was. First it was you had a boom box, and then whittled down to a Walkman.
Yeah.
And
then a Discman. So anyway, I read the letter, and it says, we'd love to come on your show. We're a band from Buffalo, so I put the tape in. I listened to it, and there were 3 songs. 2 of them were really good. And I called them back, and I said, listen, if you want to make the trek from Buffalo, New York, down to White Plains, we'll put you on. And they were like, yeah, we'll do it. So they came on, and what a great bunch of guys, and they were just dynamite. And that was the Goo Goo Dolls.
I said Buffalo. I said that's the Goo Goo Dolls, isn't it? Yep. And what was their big hit? What's their
Iris and a bunch of other ones, but nobody
I Don't
knows
Want
your
the Whole World
name.
to See
And
Me.
and then Give a Little Bit. I mean,
that's right. Oh yeah.
They were like the biggest band of the '90s for a while.
Which I love about what you're talking about with your Rocker Room, because I just my wife was watching, which means I was watching this.
He just sounded like Sam Jackson.
Exactly. Which pretty much
pretty much
makes me a vegetarian. But I do love a good burger.
That's not a Hawaiian burger.
That's a Hawaiian burger joint.
Does he look like a bitch?
That movie was so good.
Oh my God.
So shocking when back then I would love to go, like, I was a movie geek, and like So like, and Rolling Stone and the Village Voice, whatever, and you know what was coming out, and like, I was like a first night. But anyway, I digress. But we were watching about an Andy Warhol special or documentary. And he had a show, Interview TV, and also that was, I think, right before him, I think like 79, 80, which when you look back, MTV kind of built its thing off what he was doing. He tried that drone. Rocker Room, you familiar with, what was Ralph McDaniel's show? Video Music Box.
Yes.
Similar concept.
Sure.
People who could not get on MTV. Like MTV did not have, not only not hip hop artists, didn't have black artists. Like Clive Davis had to fight. They had to tooth and nail to get Michael Jackson and people like on MTV.
Well, Eddie Grant was on.
Look, Electric Avenue, baby. Love that song.
It's a great song.
You know, I love Electric Avenue. Poor Eddie, but not poor Eddie, but
he's still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah. Okay. No, I shouldn't say poor Eddie. I mean, and I think one of the themes we're going to talk about is like doing what you love.
As a one-hit wonder.
I would. I mean, as far as American music standards, I would say probably. But you know, I mean, Billy Ocean still. I mean, most musicians still play music. You know that. Like they don't like it's. That hit is great because then you can buy whatever. You could buy the place in New York. You could buy the place out in the country, and then you dial your life into like, okay, I can make $5,000 a month doing music, but my house is good. I got a car. You know what I mean? Because it's about, and I definitely want to get like what it's like. They use the term creator now, but like really like creators. For me, and it's gonna be sometimes are people who are looking to monetize social media, whereas people just love to create. People loved doing music. People loved doing comedy. People loved to act.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were literally not creating. I think everybody would love to have a hit because then it changes your life. But of course,
yeah.
You know.
And I do love Billy Ocean.
Oh my God, he was so. Hey, listen, I'm a 80. Listen, so I was. MTV 82. I was like 12, so I my high school years was all MTV.
Get into my car, Caribbean Queen.
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
Now we're sharing the same dream. He was smooth as fuck.
He was.
He was so smooth, man.
The only guy smoother was Billy D. Williams.
Oh my God! And he was on CBS Sunday Morning a couple weeks ago. He wrote an autobiography, and it was so great, dude.
Billy D. Williams?
Billy D. Williams.
Oh, really?
I'm going to have to I do a lot of audiobooks. I don't know about you. I do love a good book.
I love audiobooks.
But audiobooks, like I'm exercising, it just allows me to get that knowledge in or just the information. But he was saying how, and this is interesting, like a lot of the artists, no matter what their race back in the day, they just want to be the best or like, so like, Billy D. Williams, like I was trying to be like, Humphrey Bogart, like the leading man. He wanted to be the best leading man.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson wanted to be like, he modeled himself after Fred Astaire. People don't realize, it's like who was successful at this.
You always want to borrow from somebody that came before you because there's that energy that you have and there's something that you see and you're not aping them, but at the same time you're like, I'm gonna take a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And you're in the entertainment industry, and everybody steals from everybody.
Oh my God.
And it's just it's just a matter of how you do it.
Right.
And I was just watching something about how the Beatles. I forget what song it is, but they gave it to the Rolling Stones. So the Beatles had recorded it, and then and they were like, it was an interview with Keith Richards. And Keith said that, the interviewer said, why would the Beatles give you guys a Stones song, to record? And he said, because we were all in this together. We were all these English bands coming up together. And the Stones version, and look it up, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
The Stones version, they took what the Beatles did, and they twisted it around, and they made it their own.
Yeah, yeah. And to your point, like you said, they were all British bands coming over.
Yeah.
In the 70s, particularly out in L.A., well, in New York, but out in L.A., like there was so much collaboration. You had Eagles, you had Jackson Brown, Linda Ronstadt. They were all writing music and sharing music with each other, right? Like, I wrote this song. You know what? And and we're talking fucking hits, right? They're like, you know what? I think this would be better for you.
Beach Boys.
Yep. Yeah.
Charles Manson.
Oh man, yeah, right. What is it about the free? God, like the 70s, like we had some serious ass serial killers in the 70s, man. We'll never. It was a golden age of serial killers everywhere. Like
that's true.
like I had a guest on who was from California. Yes, and we're talking about
Jones. I mean,
yeah,
you kill like 600 people.
But out in California, they never caught like the Zodiac or like, and also like Sonoma County, where it's wine country. There's bodies buried all throughout these vineyards because these guys were just because it was like people were hitchhiking. It was just a different time, man. Yeah. It was a different time, and oh my God.
I mean, that's how Manson lured all these young girls in. I mean, he was this guy with long hair and a beard and a guitar, and all these, kind of rich girls from the Midwest were so enamored because they wanted to get away from mommy and daddy, and they got caught up in this thing. So, yeah.
And then Jim Jones, man, he it's so funny. Like
I haven't drank Kool-Aid since then.
Right. Most people haven't. But like I think he actually started out in the U.S. and he moved down to Guyana because he was like, I don't know if he was consciously realizing that he had become a god to himself and to his followers, but he knew he needed room to operate anyway. This is people like I told you, it's beats, vines, and life now, guys. We're going down some life, and so Rocker Room, Goo Goo Dolls, and did you do this like at a for lack of a better, local cable access? What was the studio that you shot the show?
I was fortunate enough to run a local cable access studio, and they gave me full reign to do whatever I want. I scheduled the other shows, and I made sure that I had at least a night or two a week that I could do my show, put the set in, bring in people, the whole thing. So I took full advantage. They weren't paying me anything.
I love that. So this is great because cable access, like
people don't understand.
I know. Yeah,
that.
Talk about that. They're like, yes, please.
People do not understand. And in my current situation, and I stress to the people in the classes, you guys have everything that we never had. You have YouTube, you have TikTok, you have Instagram. You can take your camera and do something 10 times better than with Dynasty. This camera will shoot something that looks better than Dynasty.
For sure.
So, there's a lot of avenues for younger people today getting into it. Back in the 80s, and especially the late 80s, it was cable access.
Yeah.
You come to the cable station, you say, "Oh, I want to book some time. I want to do a show," and then I would be there and I would set it up for them, and I would, do all the cameras and direct it and blah blah blah. And then I was like, well, if I could do this for everybody else, I'm going to do it for me.
And like with cable access, did people pay to rent studio time or just?
No, it was free.
It was free, exactly. So yes, I'm paying for the studio time right now. Back in the day, yeah, like literally, and we had Tom Green started at Cable Access out of Canada. Yeah. The notion of Wayne's World was, a couple guys.
Split it with you?
Oh yeah. Thanks, brother. You're like the third guest to actually offer. It's been funny. I had a guest come in. Shout out to my man Dan Petrosky. He's like, damn man, I feel like I should be paying to be on here. He's like, usually, and I had another guy. He's like,
invoice me later.
Yeah. He was like, usually, I get sent a Zoom link and be like, be by your computer and make sure you're in a quiet room. But yeah, but even then, I think about.
Can I just tell the audience that MJ did want to Zoom me, and I said no, I want to do it in person.
Well, I didn't want to Zoom him.
Well, you said we can.
I said we can, and I'm glad because the big thing about this show has been face to face, particularly because it started during the pandemic. So it's kind of like a hallmark. And I do think that I love this format.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a few Zooms. They're not my favorite. It gives me like I've turned down big name people. I'm like, nah, I'll catch them next time. Like, I'll catch them when they come to New York. Like, I would rather sit down with someone. Mm-hmm. Not. I don't want an autograph like you did of J.J. Gonzalez, but just, even with Zoom, in real life, you get excited. You talk about people. Zoom, it's the worst. The delay, the lag, and then also just we're sharing this bottle of wine. This is a real experience.
Right. There's no connection on a Zoom.
Right.
But I think with and this is probably getting way off topic, but I think with the whole COVID thing, people got so accustomed to doing these Zoom things, and it's desensitizing people from actual communication.
Yeah.
From actually, I'm looking you in the eyes right now,
right,
and you're looking me in the eyes, and this is the way I want to do this.
Yeah. And
if you're going to ask me questions about J.J. Gonzalez, then.
But I'm so glad because I said to myself, I'm like, okay, am I limited? And just my life works out. Thank God, thank the universe, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was just glad we were able to get this in person, because Mitchell and Sharon were in person, so it would have been kind of whack if we
right. And my friend that I was hanging out with yesterday was saying that different groups of people have different names. Mm-hmm. Like if you're particularly religious, then it's God. Mm-hmm. If you're not, then it's the universe. Right. And then if you're, something else, then they just call it a vibe.
Right.
I have the vibe.
Yeah.
So it's whatever it is that you believe in.
Energy.
Energy. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing. And I respect anything that anybody believes in.
Oh, me too. The God is just, my mother made me go to church for 18 years. Right. Yeah, like all of us, right?
Right, man. I went to Catholic school.
Exactly. Right.
So pipe down over there.
And so, anyone else of note that you had at Rocker Room?
We had, I talked about this because I do this Instagram thing and I review. And the last thing I've been doing was counting down my top 10 singers.
Yes.
Female singers.
Yes.
And we had, and I talked about this, and I got, you would not believe flack I got from this, but we had the lead singer from The Flirts. Her name's Andrea Del Conte. Mm-hmm. And I talked about her a little bit. And, they had that song, Don't Put a Dime in a Jukebox, and a bunch of others. And she, I contacted her. I said, would you want to come on Rocker Room? She's like, yeah, why not? I'd love to. And she did probably about 5 or 6 shows with us. And she was just a really nice person. And she had left that 80s group and then moved on to do her own solo projects and what have you. But, I thought that was really kind of cool because that was somebody when I was younger, like 7 years younger, I would see on MTV, and I'm like, oh, wow, we're getting her on the show. That's pretty cool. Yeah. We had Les Paul on. We had a couple other people. It was, I think Brian Setzer came on. No, he was a taped interview. I'm sorry. That was a misstep there. But, a few people, TKA, I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, we never had the top tier, but we had enough firepower to sustain a cable show.
Isn't it though? Because you've been around this for a while. For me, there's something about catching a band early in their arc and seeing these people and knowing they're going to be big and great, or they might have had like the one hit, but they're really freaking good because popular music can be fickle.
Right.
There's something about that. I think respecting the craft, like we're talking about, like
right.
People who. That's what I do. Dave Chappelle famously once said his father's like, well, most comedians don't make money, and he's like, well, how much do you make? And his father was at times a college professor, was making $50,000, right. And he was like, well, if I made $50,000 a year, I don't have to make $5 million, but if I made, I'd be happy, right? Like you're making a living doing what you love,
right?
So yeah, I think that's super cool. But Rocker Room, I want to go back to something that you and I want to get your thoughts on this. We like I said, work ethic's always going to come in. Work ethic, and then you were saying how.
Can we just stay on the last topic for one more second?
Absolutely.
You talked about trying to catch a band on the way up
Yep.
and trying to, catch lightning in a bottle. And we had this band, and they were from Los Angeles, and they were called LA Guns. And we got an interview with them because a good friend of the show worked for Polygram Records, and I got to go up to Albany of all places to interview them because I thought these were going to be the next big guys, and I'm like, wow, if I could put them on. But Guns N' Roses beat them to the punch.
Yeah.
And actually, the bands actually were kind of in cahoots at one point back in the LA scene and at Rainbow and all those places. So LA Guns never really made it. I mean, a couple of minor hits, but they were good guys. They were really fun.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that in particularly in music, because people hang out like why was Blondie the most successful band ever come out of CBGB's?
Right.
Like Ramones did fine, but I mean, like Blondie's by far, right?
Oh yeah, Ramones are great.
Right. Yeah. Talking Heads again, great.
Yeah.
And then they had the Tom Club Project, Tina Weymouth.
Yep.
So there is something about creatives do hang together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when Red Hot Chili Peppers idolized Fishbone, and they were like, Keita says, I was trying to be like him, but like just the success, the world can be fickle,
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Mailroom. So you said people can shoot better quality video than it was on Dynasty. Like there is, and I've heard this from other people, but there is a reluctance of some people who are younger in these New Jersey to start at the bottom. Like you graduated from college, from Fordham, and then went to work at the mailroom.
Yes.
At ABC. Like was it like? Did you apply for that job? You went in? Was offered like?
Well, all right. So the initial idea was that we had a friend of the family who worked at ABC.
Okay.
He wasn't a producer or anything. I think he was in charge of furniture or something. But it was some innocuous task. But he was a really sweet guy, and he really tried to get me onto the Regis and
Kathy Leash.
No, before Kathy Lee,
Wow,
it was Cindy Garvey.
Oh. Okay.
Steve Garvey's
Steve Garvey's ex.
wife. Yeah.
Former.
And
wife,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So he was trying to get me onto that show, and they hired somebody else. I'm not going to say his name, but he said, I can get you in the back door, so to speak. He goes, if you want a job in the mailroom. I said, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I got out of college, and a lot of younger people will ask me, what was your first job out of college?
Mm-hmm.
And they want to hear something like I was directing, Dynasty on my cell phone.
Yeah.
No, I was I was cleaning carpets that summer.
Yeah.
And then I got the job at the mailroom, so I'm like, yeah, of course I'll take that. And my first day, I got there, and the head of all the ABC mailrooms came down, and he was this really angry guy. And he
As
said
one would be if they had worked 30 years and had risen to the level of director of mailrooms.
And he said to me, he goes, listen, he goes, nobody ever gets out of the mailroom.
Exactly.
I felt like I was in Shawshank. Like,
Right,
your ass is mine.
Yeah, right. It was like,
well, long story short, a year later, I was working in the newsroom.
But yeah, no, actually, I would love to hear that a little bit because it seems like, and it, like with all these tools, everybody thinks, it's hard to actually you can't actually really make shit go viral per se. But like the value of just working at the bottom and learn to keep your eyes open, making moves. So like I said, it took you less than a year. What were you doing, man? Like
I was, I would deliver the mail.
Yep.
Hence working in the mailroom. And every desk that I stopped, I wouldn't bother them for an hour or anything, but I'd stop and have a 10-second conversation, 20-second conversation. Here's your mail. See you tomorrow. And in doing that, I got to know a little bit about everybody that worked at Channel 7. And it was a great place. I enjoyed being in a TV station. Did I love delivering mail? Hell no.
Right.
But I realized that coming out of college, I did not have the tools I needed. So then I went to television school.
Okay.
And when I went up to the newsroom, there was a woman there. She was a producer. Her name was Janet Paste. And I said, Janet, can I get a job up here? And she goes, why would you want that? She goes, it might be only 2 days a week. We don't give benefits. We don't do this. We don't do that. I said, I don't care. I don't want to be in the mailroom. And she says, I'll tell you what. She goes, what are you doing now? I said, I'm going to TV school. She goes, when you graduate, you come see me. So then I graduated. And fun fact is that who was in my class at TV school? Mitchell Stewart.
Ah.
Or Marshall, as you call him.
Yeah, Marshall. Sorry, Marshall Mathers.
World Funk Orchestra. Shout out for Mitchell. And you're buying brunch on Sunday.
What is TV school?
It was a kind of a trade school. It was called Center for the Media Arts.
Okay, where was it centered?
It was on 26th Street in New York City.
Is it not part of the new school or anything, or like no, just its own
its own thing. It doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
But it was an opportunity to go there and learn how to do productions and camera work. It's pretty much whatever I did there and learned there is what I'm teaching now. In fact, I even taught there in the early 90s because I appreciated. We had a great teacher. His name was Karoli Baros, and he was this Hungarian director or whatever. He taught us so much. And, and Mitchell will tell you the same story if you ask him. We just learned a lot there. And then when I got out of there, I went up to Janet and I said, all right, here it is. I'm done. She goes, all right, if this is what you want. So I worked in the newsroom.
And you know what? Probably a good time to take a quick break.
All right.
So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of Mr. Billy Bollotino. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're back.
Are we going too long?
No,
Okay.
no. We
Okay.
we this. I'm long format, man.
Okay.
I'm here for it. I'm not like Joe Rogan, like 4 hour long format, but I'm here for it. So the newsroom,
Yes.
ABC TV. Who were the anchors? Were you there? Warner Wolf was there probably at that time, or had he left yet?
I think. I don't remember Warner Wolf being
Okay.
there, but Roger Grimsby, Bill Butel.
Warner was there with Bill Butel. Let's go to the videotape.
Maybe Warner was there.
Yeah.
I didn't really.
He was like the first celebrity sportscaster because he had that.
Yes.
Let's go to the videotape.
Right, and if Chris Berman didn't ape him, come on.
Bill Butel.
Yeah, Doug Johnson was another anchor. God, there were so many. Tappy Phillips. There, there's Art McFarland. I remember. Do you remember him at all? He was one of the reporters.
Okay.
You had your anchors.
Well, yeah, anchors, but then you had the people out.
Grimsby, Butel, and then you had people and then you had the weatherman and all the other stuff. Art McFarland was this like tall, really good-looking African American guy. Kind of reminded me of Billy D. Williams a little bit. If we're going to keep talking about him, but I remember that all the on-air talent used to have that Circle 7 because ABC had all these affiliate stations around the country, and they all wore that. I forget what lapel they wore it on. They all wore that Circle 7, and I remember bumping into Art McFarland, and he liked me. And I said, wow, I love that. He goes, took it off. He gave it to me. He goes, it's yours now. And I wore that on my denim jacket for such a long time.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And so, what did you do there? Like what? Like, I don't know what the hell goes on behind the scenes at a television studio.
I just basic stuff, you know. If scripts come out,
Mm-hmm.
I would, you know, hand them to people. I was a desk assistant. I would answer the phones. I remember I was there overnight one time, and there was an earthquake in New York. And I was like, I should really call somebody. So I called, you know, my direct supervisor. I'm like, oh, by the way, they just phoned in. We have an earthquake. I'm like, all right, we'll be right there. So it was menial. It was menial work, but it wasn't the mailroom.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't directing anything. It wasn't producing anything, but it was a step. It was the next step up.
Mm-hmm. And so you also did work at Court TV. So it was early on Court TV. When were you at Court TV?
The beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dahmer.
Were you there during OJ?
No,
Oh,
I was gone already.
Okay. Because that's what broke it, though, right? Like that was like.
Well, yeah, William Kennedy Smith was the first one.
Okay.
That was the first big one we worked on, and then we had Dahmer, and you know, and then I didn't stay there very long because then I went to work for the ABC network.
Okay. And for people like myself and others, difference between ABC TV New York and ABC Network.
Okay, so WABC is the local affiliate owned by the ABC network. This is back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
ABC Network was a whole different kettle of fish. So the local station was just, you know, kind of self-sufficient. They had their own local programming, and then they would take, you know, network shows.
Right.
So
Dynasty, shot on a cell phone.
Yeah. You're not going to let me live that one
No,
down.
it's true, though. No, let's be honest. I mean, the quality of what you can do on your phone is insane. Like, watch 70 TV, you can barely watch it, right?
So, but then getting a job at the network was a whole different thing.
Right.
So then I got to work for news up there, and I became a videotape editor.
So you became a videotape editor.
Yeah.
Wow. How much do you love this business that, like, you start in the mailroom and then you're just, like, answering phones and in the studio making calls to the earthquake, editing, like...
I love this business. That's why I'm here. That's why I've been doing this for 30 years.
It's so incredible, man. It's so great. And so...
40 years.
I mean, and then... FX so is FX? Let me back up. So, how long were you with the ABC network?
Oh God, let's see. Started there. On and off, probably about 5-6 years.
Okay. And then I said, and when I read your bio, MNN, and that was Medical News Network.
Yeah. One of my best jobs ever.
Yeah, so...
God, if I could have stayed there, I would have been really happy.
What was... so clearly, it was geared towards medical professionals.
It was, yeah. It was a concept developed by Whittle Communications out of Tennessee. And they thought that what we would do is we would put these devices in all these doctors' offices, and we would do a nightly feed about whatever's happening and whatever's upcoming in the medical, you know, industry. And it was great because we were all, you know, kind of the same age. We were all there together. It was just a really good learning atmosphere. They paid pretty good, and it was a really good gig. And then they were supposed to go to the next expansion and branch out, you know, so far more across the board, and then they folded.
Yeah. What? And were you based out of New York or based? Do you have to go? Was it based out of Tennessee?
No, it was in New York.
It was New York. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they folded, and that's like, this is like before people knew about going public, and venture capital's always been around, but it was a different thing back
Not
then.
in my world.
Yeah, I mean, it was a different thing back then.
Venture capital, what's that?
It's the money I owe on my Capital One Venture card.
What's in your wallet?
Exactly. So it's 1997. What had you been doing before you get hired on to Late Night with Conan O'Brien?
Well, I had bounced around for a couple of different jobs. I got a job at USA Network. I worked at FX when they were still just an apartment. And, fun story, when my friend Kevin's son was born, Jeff Probst and I were sleeping in the same room. We used to do these crazy early morning news cut-ins and updates. So we would play an episode of, say, Batman or the Green Hornet, and then in between episodes, it'd be like, "Hey, it's Jeff Probst, and here's what's coming up," and blah blah blah. And then after the next episode, he'd do a little news, and in between those news hits, during the episode of Batman or Green Hornet, we would go into a room that had all these couches and video games and a pinball machine, the whole thing, and we'd just sleep. And I was laying on the couch, and my phone rang, and my friend Kevin says, "Oh, I just had a baby boy," and I said, "Oh my God, that's great." I'm like, "Hey, Probst, wake up! My friend just had a kid." And then who would have thought that he would go from there to Rock and Roll Jeopardy to being the biggest TV star, like, almost of all time?
Yeah.
With Survivor. Is that show still even on?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's insane. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean,
that's got to be, what, 20 years?
it's like 20, maybe 25 years, man.
Wow.
A long time.
Not as long as The Simpsons.
Not as long, well, come on. That's that.
They don't age.
That's that. They don't age, right? Listen, those people are mega rich.
Yeah.
They all could have 3 private jets. Like, they've been on for like 30 fucking years.
Oh, there was a while back, I think there was a while back when they were like, "We might not do this anymore." And they're like, no, we'll give you whatever you want. Here you go, here you go, here you go.
What's crazy about that, The Simpsons, we talk about, like, and it's voiceover work, but like that crew, the people in that, like, yeah, they make a lot of really good, funny cult movies. They make incredible fucking movies.
Right.
Those guys are in so many great movies, but like, they're not like doing like Independence Day, Schwarzenegger, blockbuster, but like, they're such great actors and professionals, and just to think that like they have made their fortunes being the voice of yellow people.
Yeah. And I've talked about this before. I mean, one of my favorite characters in any movie ever is Agador Spartacus in The Birdcage, and that's Hank Azaria.
Yeah, Hank Azaria.
And he does like probably 30 characters in The Simpsons. So he's brilliant.
Yeah, and he had Brockmire. He's had some great cable shows,
Yes,
and he's had
Brockmire's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But he's been in like just a bunch of movies, and he kind of plays an odd, quirky character, and like so many of those guys were in Spinal Tap. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, Christopher Guest.
Yeah, Christopher Guest. I mean, but like it's like, it's just
Harry Shearer.
It is just amazing making a career in this business.
If I could have got that gig, I'd still be there.
Yeah, right. I mean, so
you're talking to somebody who worked 25 years at the same job.
Yeah, I know, man. But that's incredible. Like, so what was your first job at Conan?
I was hired as the associate director, and they needed somebody in charge of post-production.
Okay.
Which means you record the show.
Yep.
And this is still when we did videotapes. So you record the show, you get all the tapes, you bring them down to the editor. Now, remember, we were on the East Coast. We were shooting at 30 Rock. So if we shot at 4:30 or 5:30, whatever it is, we had 4 or 5 hours to get it to the network so that they can play it out. I really kind of just took the reins and I just made that job my own. I started doing things that they didn't expect me to, but were grateful
Mm-hmm.
that I was doing them. And, you know, I had a great executive producer. His name was Jeff Ross. And he would always come to me and say, God, you know what? The reason I'm able to go home at night is because I know you're here.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a bunch of years. And then, you know, we moved out to California.
So I don't know where I read this recently. I was reading something. There was a piece on like that first year of the Conan O'Brien show, like
The one in New York or the one in LA?
New York.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that.
No, but it's just I love getting these behind us. Was it New York or was it LA? I'm trying to think. Oh, it was no, wait. So his first show was late. He took over late night.
Late night from David
from
Letterman.
Letterman.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Got it. Right. And then okay, so you were there for that because that was New York. Because he's yeah. Got it.
I came about 4 or 5 seasons in.
Okay. But also even for me, when I read these stories, and I was fortunate I had I'm spazzing now, but
When they the first season of Conan, they only kept him on a 13-week contract.
right, that's it was hairy. It was it was shaky as fuck, right?
Yeah, people that started that, you know, and people that were there from day one were still there at the end of the run.
Right.
And they were like, yeah, we never knew if we were going to have a job in a couple of weeks. So, and, you know, he got renewed.
Because he was a writer. Like, he did some writing for The Simpsons. He did some writing for Saturday Night Live.
Yep.
And they weren't sure. I mean, he's a kind of a goofy-looking guy. Like, so, like, they weren't sure he was going to fly on TV. Was that
you know
the
what?
deal?
Lorne Michaels put him up there.
Yeah.
And Lorne is somebody I've always kind of modeled my career after. I mean, I'm not as successful, but he, but you know, it's a funny thing. Just backtracking a little bit, when I was doing the Locker Room series, I had this complete Lorne Michaels complex. I was just like, I read that SNL book. I must have read it maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times. And I'm like, I'm doing everything Lorne did on a smaller scale because I don't have the money.
Right.
But, you know, he was he was really influential. And I got to meet him and I got to talk to him and I even got to work on SNL. And he was just a really good guy.
Yeah. How long did you, like, was it a season of SNL, a couple episodes?
No, it was only like 2 episodes.
Okay. What?
Yep.
But that's got to be pretty. That's like that's another one of the most iconic television shows ever. Saturday Night Live. What's it like to be on that?
You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah, I
about that
do.
one?
I do want to hear an SNL story.
Okay.
Of course, we want to hear that.
So I was actually filling in for the AD that was there. He couldn't make it. His normal fill-in couldn't make it, and he came to me and I said, "Sure, I'll do it." You know. I'm like, what do I have to do? He's like, just go with it. You know, just let everybody do their job. And if you see something, you know, say something. I was like, okay, fine. And then he says, here's the only thing. He goes, between dress rehearsal and the show, there's this meeting of everybody in Lorne's office. And he goes, you should probably go to that. He goes, but the only problem is he might see you and say, you know, who the hell are you?
Who the fuck is
know,
this guy?
Yeah, what, exactly.
Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. So I go into the meeting, and I'm sitting in between Cameron Diaz and who's the other guy? I forget his name. He's famous. He's,
okay.
You know, I want to say he was in sync, but he wasn't. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and everyone's making changes, and we're talking about it, and Lorne never singles me out. He never even looks at me. And so we go back. We do the 11:30 show. It went off great, and I'm like, all right, fine. Years later, when we wrapped up Late Night with Conan O'Brien at NBC, Lorne was sitting at a table, and I said to somebody, oh my God, that's Lorne Michaels, and he's sitting by himself. So I just went over and I introduced myself, and I said, you know, I was in your office. I worked on that show, and I said, I was warned that you were going to single me out and you were going to say, who the F is this guy? And you never did. And I was kind of disappointed. And he just looks at me. He goes, you must have looked like you belonged.
It's so great. That is so great.
Justin Timberlake, that's the guy.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know the episode, but yeah, JT, yeah. So, but like, talk about. See, people think there's nothing new under the sun. My mom used to always say, right? So people talk about the gig economy. Like, working in entertainment is the fucking gig economy, right? Like,
explain that.
Well, you could be a key grip on a movie, and then you don't work. Yeah. I mean, like, you were AD for 2 episodes,
right?
Like, they like, oh, I know, call Billy Bollotino. He's an AD. Mm-hmm. Like, they just bring you in for like, and even just films, particularly, it's a gig.
Yeah,
you're on a film.
Yeah,
it could be 3 months. Then you got to find work again.
Yep.
Like, it's not even unless you have a TV show and it becomes a hit. Like, you are not. You are just. Look, the paychecks can be bigger, but still, it's paycheck to paycheck.
That's true.
You know?
Mm-hmm. You know, if you're lucky enough to be in a guild or a union, you pay your dues. You get health benefits. You get, you know, all that good stuff and a pension and all that. But, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. So you come on to Conan. I love this. And let's talk. Oh no! Before, when did you do Deon Cole's Black? Because Deon Cole is funny as shit. People don't know how funny.
Oh my God!
So Deon Cole, in case most of you may know him from most of you probably know him from the Old Spice commercials. He's black in Old Spice commercials, and his woman keeps taking his Old Spice, and he's like, "What are you doing, my Old Spice woman?"
Yep.
But he was on Blackish, which he was just brilliant in Blackish.
He was
just this weird character saying weird black shit in corporate America. This is so good. But like, so you've worked with but this thing also about comedians. People have been doing shit for like 20 years and then they finally catch a break.
Yeah.
So Deon, you worked with Deon.
Deon, that was such a fun show. In fact, the other day in my class, I showed them the first episode of Deon Cole's Black Box because I wanted to explain to them how you can have nothing in the morning. And literally we didn't, because we shot Conan on Warner Brothers stage from Monday to Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Friday, literally, they would pull up a truck, they would build a set in front of where Conan would sit and all that, and then we would light it, and we would do Black Box. And it was really funny. And the guy who created that was a guy named Doug Caro. And he was a clip coordinator at Conan. And he was really smart, and he would produce his own like segments, and then say, "Oh, here, by the way, you want to take a look at this?" And he got a lot of stuff on the air. And then he and Deon was writing on the show at the time.
See, I did not know this.
Yeah, Deon came on the show. Came on the Tonight Show as a stand-up, and he was really funny. And then I don't know how he actually became a writer, if he approached them or they approached him. But he became a writer on the show. And so they pitched this show, Black Box, to TBS. And TBS was like, yeah, we'll do it. And Doug called me and said, I want you to direct this. And I said, I'd love to. Yeah, it'd be great. But Doug had not been an EP for, ever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was his, pitch. So they brought in the amazing Robert Morton. Do you know Morty?
Mm-mm.
Legendary TV producer.
Okay.
He did Letterman for like 30 years, and he's just look him up. He's really amazing. He's doing real estate now. He's selling properties in Malibu or Santa Monica or something like that. But anyway, he was such a great guy to work. He was just such a card because he was used to that big budget, and we had no budget on Black Box. Absolutely no budget. And we would get into the edit room after we shot a show on a Friday, and Morty would say, oh, let's get some dinner. And he would order like these $100 dinners and 20, 30, 40, 50 $2 bottles of wine. He's like, what kind of wine you like? I'm like, this one's good. He goes, get 2 bottles of that. And it was just such an amazing experience working with those guys. And Deon was funny. I still carry a briefcase when I went to work. And Deon would see me walking in. He goes, what do you got in there, cocaine? So for a long time, he called me cocaine.
That's so funny. Oh my God!
And the show was really good. It could have really been something. I think it was in the wrong time slot.
Yeah, well,
timing, at the wrong time.
Yeah, timing is everything.
They put him on at 10 o'clock, which they should have actually put him on right before Conan, which would have made sense, but they didn't. They put him on at 10, and then they aired this thing called, I don't know, the Goldbergs or something. And then Conan came on. So they were like, well, so we would get so many different notes. And, one note would be like after an episode, the network people would come down and say, Deon, you're a little too black.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
So then the next show, it would be a little tweaked. And then they would come back, and I swear to God, this is true. They would come down and say, Deon, you're not black enough.
Listen, black wine guy. I'm like, am I black enough to be the black wine guy? Like that is a struggle for like the black person entertainment. It's like that line, right? Like, unless you're just full bore, unless you're God bless Tyler Perry. He knows who his audience is. It's church going black women.
Oh yeah,
and it's made him a billionaire.
Oh hell yeah.
Like But I don't go to church, so that ain't gonna work for me.
But Deon was a trip, and that show was fun. But they canceled it after a while.
Yeah, so. How many really, really good shows get canceled? Fuck. Yeah. The fucking Kardashians been on TV for like 20 years now. That's not good TV, but people watch that shit. But then you'll have a show like Arrested Development where it gets canceled, and then people petition, and it comes back on, and it's, there's.
Hey, they canceled Family Guy after one season.
I know.
And then DVD sales went through the roof because everybody wanted to watch it. Yeah. They brought it back. Yeah. And now it's still on.
It's still on. Yeah, it's still on. That's a funny
You
show.
can hit me, brother.
I'll hit you. All right, cool. Pete Holmes show.
Oh, love that. That was one of my favorite jobs ever. Yeah. That was right at the same, right before Deon premiered. We did a pilot for Pete Holmes.
Okay.
And Pete was such a funny guy, and that was EP'd by a guy named Nick Bernstein.
Okay.
And Nick Bernstein was somebody who had worked at NBC for a long time, and he came to the network with this idea, and he came to Jeff and Conan and said, "What do you think about this?" And we ended up doing a couple of seasons of that, and it was so much fun. It was so great. That's another job. If it never went away, I'd still be there.
Yeah, love it.
Pete, I remember the first time I met Pete, Jeff said to me, "Why don't you go in and say hello?" And I went in and I said, "Hey, Pete, I'm Billy. I'm going to be your director." He goes, "Oh, nice to meet you." And I said, "This is great. Another tall white guy from Massachusetts." And he laughed at
while
that.
I was taking a sip.
I'm good at that.
I know, it's good.
So that show was a lot of fun, and we had a crazy schedule. We'd shoot 3 of them in a day, like 2 or 3 times a week. Yep. And I think we did 80 shows in probably like maybe 10 weeks.
Shit.
We were cranking them out.
Yeah.
And that came on right after Conan, so it was kind of a better lead-in for Pete.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's that point. If you're up late at night, if you're someone who stays up late at night, you're probably drinking and smoking, and you're like, well, this is funny, and then you get hooked. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Whereas if that's so cool. And then
after the show went away, after Pete Holmes' show went away, he got that show Crashing on HBO, and Judd Apatow was directing. And I remember I called Pete and I said, "Hey, congratulations on the show." He's like, "Oh, thank you, Billy. I'm so glad that I got this." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry you had to take a downgraded director." And that made him laugh.
That was a good show. That was a funny show, Crash. He was very funny on that. And then you worked with the guy at one point, the guy who put fear in the heart of Johnny Carson for a second there. Arsenio. Yeah. What's he like? What's he like? He's a big wine lover, by the way. He's a big wine collector.
Is he?
Yeah, he drinks some serious shit.
He was. He couldn't have been nicer. He was. I think at that point in his career, it was past the whole 1990s. But the audience still remembers that.
Of course. I mean, he's stuck to that.
Did I ever tell you how I got that job?
No.
Want to hear it?
Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for. We're here for the stories, Billy.
It's actually a Saturday morning, and I was home alone, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in my hot tub, put it on. I'm sitting there, I had the phone nearby, and I got a text message from somebody I'd never heard of and said, "Hi, this is so-and-so. Would you be interested in working on this Arsenio Hall thing?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. Why not?" And then it was like another text and another text. I'm like, listen, just call me.
Right.
So sometimes, the texting just gets
No, for me, I'm like, can we just talk?
Yeah.
Text and email, I'm like, this is a 2-minute phone conversation instead of this back and forth
right.
shit.
And it's 4 hours of texting.
Right.
So I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. What's involved? Blah, blah, blah. It's for Netflix is a
Netflix is a joke.
Netflix is a joke, yes.
Yeah.
And I said, great, yeah. When are you thinking of starting it up? When's production? She goes, oh, no, can you come in tomorrow? All right, yeah, sure. She goes, yeah, we're shooting tomorrow night. So they had already had someone to do the show. He got COVID. And a good friend of mine that I worked with on Conan, J.P. Buck, had given my name to this woman, Mandy Johnson. And she called me, and I walked in. And, it just worked out great.
That's so freaking cool. And that's the business.
We only did a week of them, but it was still cool working in that environment.
Totally.
Snoop was on, and that's where I met DJ Cherish the Love. You know her, right?
Oh, no. I've seen her on...
She was on Deeper Dives.
Deeper Dives, yes. I know her from Deeper, but I don't know. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice lady.
Yeah, I definitely have to get with her because she's all about the beats.
Yeah.
And so... And I jump around because that's like when my mind works. 1997.
You should see me teach.
Conan. 2010, you start directing.
Yes.
So was it 13 years, something like that? Yeah, 13 years later. What is it like to direct a show of that magnitude? I mean, fucking goddamn. I mean, it was. You got Jay, Dave. Conan, I mean, you had Stewart coming on, but like on TV, and people don't realize, despite cable, network TV is still the most watched.
Mm-hmm.
Like
there were only a handful of those jobs, and I got one.
I know. That's like, it's like making it to the NBA. I mean, people talk shit all the time, but like even to give people a wine reference, throw some vines in there for you guys. Like people see these movies like the Somme. There's the movies, the Somme series, but
Vines.
But there's only so many Michelin starred restaurants in New York, and how many? I don't care what degree you have. Like there's only so many jobs to go around. Like you were the guy, and I mean my memory's fuzzy, but like a lot of the jokes around that was on him not getting not getting the Tonight Show job, right? Like Conan, like.
Well, he got it.
Yeah, but I know. I mean, that was the shiestiest shit ever, man. I'm gonna come back. I mean, wow, what the hell? Only in TV could you like Michael Jordan ended up, the Bulls were like, we love you, but you need to go play on the Wizards. Like there just comes a point where you age out of some shit, but not so much in TV. They're like, but Conan kept going, man.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that show on TBS lasted probably 12 seasons.
Yeah. That's a lot.
So, it is a lot.
I mean, most, like anything else in life, most shit doesn't get off the ground. Most people, like, you want to get the pilot. They order the pilot. That's it. 12 seasons.
Yeah.
Andy Richter, though, he seems like a fun guy. I don't know how, like, what was he working with?
Andy Richter is a sweetheart. He's a really
just
nice
comes
guy.
up and shows up and goes to work, huh?
He comes in, he shows up.
Right. Is he? Because people think, like, I would think, because he's like the straight man, but he's also a comedian. People are like, that's a guy who's funny as shit, who's got to play a role now.
All right. Well, here's the thing with Andy Richter. Andy Richter is a very talented guy, and he did leave the Conan family for a little while because he was doing his own thing, and then he came back when we were doing the Tonight Show. He is somebody that you can always rely on for some, for some comment or something, and they wrote a lot of comedy sketches for him, and I think Conan, at that point in the TBS run, he really wanted somebody as a sounding board, and sometimes we do a sketch or we do a joke, and Conan would look at Andy and Andy would be like, no, or Andy, does that work? Yeah, that works. So he was a good guy to have around, and very friendly guy. I'll tell you a really funny story about him. We were doing a pre-tape, and it was a green screen thing, and we were having some kind of technical issue, and they had already brought Andy out, and it was going to take us a couple of minutes to get it rectified. And I said, listen, Andy, if you want to go back to your dressing room, we'll call you when we're ready. He goes, what am I going to do, go back in there and look at the four walls again? But that was his kind of humor, Yeah. When you're in comedy, and, even in my current job, if you can't be self-deprecating, if you can't make light of yourself and you take yourself so serious, nobody wants to work with you.
Yep. No, I get that.
So both Andy and Conan and a lot of people on the show would be in that vein. Self-deprecation is really amazing.
No, it's true. It's so true. And
I mean, clearly, you can make fun of yourself.
I do it all the time.
Right.
Listen, I can't believe people have been listening to me, my dumbass talk for 4 years. And that's fine. Thank you for that.
Should cross out the Vines thing and put a dumbass talk.
I should put that. I'm going to change the name. I'm going to rebrand again. This is why I'm...
Especially after me being on.
Exactly. Well, because it's funny because you said something like, I've tried to explain to people sometimes, I'm like, I go by the black wine guy, and I do know a fair amount about wine, but I was texting with a friend of mine. I'm like, some people take this shit way too serious. Okay, it's fermented grape juice. It's great for the conversations you can have over it. And when people sometimes go, I'll get like you said, people will slide in my DM or the worst is a review, classic fault, blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro, first of all, I'm out here doing it. Second of all, I'm just putting forth my perspective on the world, and it's not, my perspective is not going to resonate with everybody, and that's
exactly.
And I think most people don't understand, like, how courageous that is. Like a comedian, go out there, tell jokes, you think it's funny. Nowadays, you get canceled for something you literally legit. You're not trying to, you just you think this is funny,
right?
And you're putting something out in the world. With that being said, though, now you're teaching, but let's talk about you can't stop creating. Chow line. What's the chow line?
Chow line is kind of a hybrid between a cooking show and just a bunch of idiots hanging around talking to each other. I know this fella, Nick, and he's a friend of the family. And we were talking at a party, and he had auditioned for one of these cooking competition shows. I forget which one it was. And, like, if you get into a conversation with me at a party and you tell me what you do, I don't ask, but if you happen to tell me what you do, I'll say, "Oh, let's do a TV show about that." Like I will. That will always be. I'll turn this into a TV show. I don't care.
We're talking now. We're talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said to him, "Yeah, let's do a cooking show." So we were all fired up. Yeah, we'll do it. He calls me the next day. He goes, "This is the worst idea ever." He goes, "This show's gonna suck." I said, "Okay, let's. What do you think?" He goes, "I've got my 2 best friends. Then maybe they can come on the show." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds fine. Are they chefs? Oh no. Are they foodies? Oh no. So why would they be? Oh, they're ex-cons." And I was like, "That is brilliant."
That is brilliant. Now, because I'm like chow line just conjures up just someone slopping food there, right?
But that's the way it is inside.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's the...
My 2 best friends are ex-cons.
Yeah.
I love it.
And they're 2 of the sweetest guys ever. So it's Nick, Rick, and Tay. And, we started doing the show at some, studio, probably maybe just a little bigger than this because we had a kitchen set. But we had, 4 cameras. And, we just banged them out. We did one. And the idea is that Rick and Tay do not eat anything. Tay will only eat boiled chicken and vegetables, and Rick is pretty much meat and potatoes. And the idea that we came up with between Nick and myself is that we're going to make the weirdest shit that we can make and make them eat it. And we made some crazy stuff. We made bull testicles. We made alligator. We made so many different things. We did that. The first episode we ever did was a really quick one. Do you know what those Pocky chips are? The really hot ones? They're like 1 million.
Scovilles.
Scovilles, yeah.
So
I said, let's do a challenge. That'll be fun. So Tay takes one, and then Rick takes one, and then Nick takes one. And in the meantime, Tay is sweating like bullets. He's sweating like Patrick Ewing in the '85 championship game. And Rick is like, and then Nick takes one, and he starts freaking out. And of course we got it. But I said, "We didn't get that one, Nick.
Yeah,
do it again." He's like, "What do you mean we didn't get it? You had 4 cameras here." So I made him eat 2 of them. Those 3 were so sick for like an hour and a half afterwards. They were drinking milk. They were trying to drink water. They were sweating like crazy. But that's kind of the nature of the show. And, it's the camaraderie. And, do we go off the rails? Yes. Luckily, we have an amazing editor, Isabella Quiros, who manages to take all this stuff and cobble it into something that's watchable. But sometimes we get complaints that, it's not, you're not really giving the recipes. It's not really the cooking show. You can turn on, you can turn on Valerie Bertinelli and get that.
I know.
So we just proceeded for a little while, and we're still finding our way. We're on a little bit of a hiatus right now.
Yeah.
But the last episode we did, we actually shot in my backyard, and it came out great.
Yeah.
So Chowline, check it out. It's on YouTube.
There you go. I do find that, with new media, whatever you want to call it, these new channels, I'm like, dude, there's a website that you could find anything you want. It's called Google. So if we mention something, Google it. Like people like, someone said, "I wish you would put links to where I could buy the wine." Well, I don't have affiliate agreements with those people, so you know what? You can just go ahead and Google it yourself. I do put the wine in the show notes. I'm doing your work for you. I love you guys, but come on, Daddy's got to eat.
One of my students came up with an idea because, you go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done. Just speaking on
what we normally do is in my classes, I'll have everybody come up, and they'll pitch an idea for a show, and it's not a long show. It's 6 to 8 minutes, something like that, and then everybody gets to do their pitch. And then I give out paper to everybody, and they vote on their top 3. one of the pitches, which just for whatever reason, and my classes are completely unhinged. They are such an adventurous bunch and so creative and, sometimes maniacal. So anyway, she came up and her pitch was to do an interview. And the first moving picture ever recorded was that horse running across. So she was like, I want to have an interview with that horse.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So I'm like, fine. The one thing I will never do to any of them is censor them.
Okay.
If it's something that's going to be harmful to another person in the class, then I'll say, you got to dial that back, or you got to take that joke out. And I've done that once or twice, but for the most part, I don't censor anybody. And so their interview, so she was like, I got to get a horse costume and I got to do this and that. I said, have you ever seen Mr. Ed? And they were like, no, I heard the name, but I don't know what it is. I'm like, all right, you're all on your phones all day long anyway. Why don't you Google Mr. Ed? And they Googled it, and they were cracking up hysterical. Like, I can't believe this was a show. And then another young lady in the class was like, they did 173 episodes of this thing. And then somebody else was like, did you see the one where he's playing baseball? He's he's hitting a ball against Sandy Koufax at Dodger Stadium, and Leo DeRoche's there, and it is just so absurd. I'm like, yes, you guys, this was TV in the '60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy.
But the sketch came out great, and it was really funny. So
that's really cool, and that was perfect time because I was like, what had you transition into? I mean, did you go to Cal State, or did they come to you like, hey, we want to like everything in my life of merit has pretty much been but networking is important. You mentioned that right back when you were delivering mail and taking time. How did you end up in the California State University system, Professor?
Thank you. I had taught at several different phases in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was teaching college actually when I was 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine me in that situation. And then I taught at Center for Media Arts, which is the school I went to. A couple of years ago, they asked me if I would be a guest lecturer at CSUN, Cal State University, Northridge.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, I would love to. And it was pretty much just reading off whatever you just read to me.
Yep.
And I told them some stories, and they really liked me. And then I got to meet one of the other professors. And I don't know, it was probably about a little over a year ago. And I was like, what do I feel like doing now? So I called this fella, and I said, hey, got anything open at the university? He's like, well, somebody just dropped out of teaching 2 classes. Do you want to come and do them? I said, yeah, I'd love to. And that was January a year ago. Oh. And so I'm not there that long. I'm only there, a year and change. And I got to tell you, when I first got there, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew what I was teaching, but I didn't know the structure. I didn't know how to put stuff on the internet. I didn't know how to put stuff on the website. But I just taught from my heart. And I kind of think I resonated with the students because I feel like there was progress, and I feel like I actually did some good with them. And then that was like last May, and the dean came to me and said, would you want to teach again in the fall? And I was up for another job, and I was like, can I let you know, in a couple of weeks? And I said, sure. And I had gotten a call from this job, and I said, they said to me, do you want to come in and sit in? And I said, yeah. And then a couple of weeks went by. My agent said, have you heard from them? I said, no. He goes, all right, let me call them. And they said, yeah, they're interested in you. I said, okay. I said, I'm going to wait another 2 weeks because I'm not going to leave the school hanging.
Right.
Because they've been
Right.
really good to me.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know? And so I pretty much just didn't hear from them for another 2 weeks. And I called the dean up. In fact, I call him Dean Warmer.
Dean Warmer, yeah.
He laughs at that because he goes,
That's Animal House for those who
Yes.
don't know. Yeah.
for those of you under 60.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, why do you call me that? I go, that's the dean in Animal House. And he thought it was really funny. So then, yeah, I came
Double
back for the
secret
fall.
probation.
I came back for the fall, and it was great. And then I said, yeah, you know what? I'll do the next semester.
Nice.
So that's where we are now. We're in end of April, kind of. We have about, a couple of weeks left in the class. And they're all dynamite. I mean, I love these kids. They all ask me. They all want to know, who's your favorite class? I'm like, I love you all the same.
Yeah.
And I really do.
So freaking cool. So I usually play this game with wines.
Okay.
I give people 3 wine grapes or 3 types of wine, and slap, lick, fondle. So but for you,
Okay.
I'm gonna give you late night talk show host. So Johnny Carson.
Awesome.
I'm gonna give you 3,
Well,
and then
okay.
and you're like, I'm slapping, I'm licking it.
Okay.
Johnny Carson, David Letterman, and Jay Leno, because we know you love Conan. So we're gonna give you.
Okay.
Yeah. Which one do you slap? Which one do you lick? Which one do you fondle?
Wow, fondle.
Or hug. In this case, hug. I don't know you don't want to. This is a Tosh 2.0 reference for some of my interviews.
Okay.
He used to play this game.
Who the 3 again?
Johnny, Dave,
Slap,
Jay. Slap, lick, fondle. Slaps like.
I think we know who we're gonna slap.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Fondle.
Hug. Hold.
Hug.
Yeah.
I'll go with Letterman.
Okay.
Lick. Johnny Carson.
Yeah. Love it. Just one last question.
Okay.
You've done a ton. It's great. You've made a career. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to sit here with someone
Thank
who's
you.
made a life for themselves doing what they love. Very few people in this world can say this. A lot of people do what they have to do. Like my father's an amazing man. He just did what he had to do to take care of his family. Amazing. Thank you,
Like
Dad.
my dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Dad.
Yep. But you, exactly same. But you made a life for yourself. What are you most excited about for the future?
Taking a nap? No.
Taking a nap in my hot tub.
I'm excited to create new content, and I'm always trying to pitch something, and I'm always creating something, and I just the wheels are always turning.
Mm-hmm.
So that would probably be it.
Love it.
I don't expect to go back to network television because it's changed so much.
Yeah.
But if Arsenio wants to do a show on Netflix, I'd love to do that. But other than that, yeah, creating my own content and just being the guy.
Love it. Love it. Billy. Oh, Billy. Oh, Billy. That's a Caddyshack reference for who's under 50. Billy. Thank you so much, man. Tell people how they can find you, how they can be a part of what you are doing. Your Instagram. Do you have a website?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. You can find me.
All right. And what I love, this is what I love, and what I've come to appreciate is that the guy behind the guy, right? Like, we see people, and there are people, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands of people who make it possible for them to do what they do. You're one of those people, and I enjoy your content. Before we go, what was the countdown on your favorite female singers? Because this was dope as hell for me. Debbie Gibson sent you a testimonial, man.
Yes.
So anyway, what was that countdown about, your best female singers? And run it down for us real quick.
It just was You know what? I was thinking it was like right after New Year's. I'm like, all right, I've already counted down my top movies. I've already counted down my top TV shows. And the reason I do this stuff is because before I started last January at CSUN, I was like, I've not talked in front of people in a really long time.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to anybody really in a long time. And I was like, this would be a good way for me to be auditory and similar to what you're doing right here. I'm like, I can get in front of a camera, I could speak. If I don't like it, erase it and do another one. I don't remember the exact number of countdowns, but Debbie was in there, and Andrea from the Flirts, we talked about her, and Nora Jones, who is just amazing. Susanna Hoffs was in there.
Oh my God, Susanna Hoffs.
God. Ellen Foley, who sang on all the Meatloaf records, and she had her own solo career. Debbie Harry was in there. Whitney Houston was in there. I mean, I'm probably missing 2 or 3 other ones.
That had Pat in there, because you mentioned Pat Benatar.
I did not mention.
You didn't have Pat.
No, Pat didn't make it.
Damn.
I'm tough.
You are tough.
I'm a tough.
You are tough.
Last night, my friend Kevin said to me, "Well, how did Chrissy Hine not make your list?"
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
another
well,
one too. Yeah.
She was close. Dale Bozier didn't make it, but I mean, Avril Lavigne made it.
Avril Lavigne made it, but damn, man, we're gonna take this all. Avril Lavigne made it, but fucking Pat Benatar and Chrissy Hine didn't make it. Come on, man.
My friend Nicole.
PJ Harvey didn't make it. I mean, now we could just go down the list of amazing.
My friend Nicole said to me last night. She goes, "How on earth is Whitney Houston number 7 and you have Debbie Gibson at number 2?"
I know. I'll tell you how. 'Cause love only in my dreams.
Exactly.
Nothing better. I mean, and Whitney was great, but an infectious pop song just stays with you.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know who number 1 is?
Who is number 1?
I'm not gonna. You'll have to tune into
we'll
my
have
Instagram.
to tune into Billy's Instagram.
Yep.
I'll tell you what. I will tell you since we're gonna hit this, but I have.
I'll tell you one thing. I do love rock and roll.
You do, and that's why I said, bro, you are a rocker. You are.
That was a hint.
Yeah. I know. I don't have a dime to put in the jukebox right now, baby, but we don't have a jukebox, and I don't have a dime. For all the listeners out there, make sure you check out the show notes for the episode. I'll list the wine we drank. I'll put Billy's IG. You can follow him, and make sure you tune in for that countdown. Until the next time, to all the mavericks, philosophers, deep thinkers, rockers, creators, and wine drinkers, it's your boy MJ saying peace. Safe and E, my friend.
All right, was that good?
That was incredibly
Was
good.
that okay?
That was really good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Let me go make sure our guy cut it.
That was.
That was good.
They're going to come back and say we have no audio.
I know. It's like,
Oh, I should have told the story about the cauliflower taco.